Hi there, it's Cheryl here, and I got a surprise for you. So we're going to make this card today. You can see I've got it all glittered up and everything, but the big surprise is when you open it up, it's got this pop-up on the inside, and this is called a floating platform pop-up, and let me show you from the side here. And yeah, we've been playing with this a lot, my grandson and I, because he likes that. He likes the bees. So I hate to say it, but a typical little boy likes sticks and bugs and playing in dirt. So what can you do? So we're going to make this card today. Now I've used for my base paper. I'm just using the regular weight cardstock. Excuse me, from Stampin' Up. This is Daffodil Delight, and it's 11 by 4 1/4, and it's scored and folded at 5.5 inches. And then I have another piece of the Daffodil Delight, and this is a 3 by 3 piece. And what I've done is I've scored it at a 1/2 inch, then right in the middle at 1.5 inches. So it's 3 by 3, and then I turned it around and I scored it again at 1/2 inch. So 1/2 inch, 1.5 inches, and 2.5. Hope I got that right. And I've folded it this way on each of the folds, and then I'm going to fold it this way also and get that creased real well. This is what we're going to be making our little platform out of. So we want to kind of break those paper fibers down so it bends really easily. And we'll be cutting this into 3 1-inch wide pieces across my folds. So 3 pieces, there'll be 3 pieces, they'll all be exactly alike. Then I've got some pieces here cut too from my, let's see, this is from the Backyard Blossoms collection from Heartfelt Creations. Y'all know I love to have those. So for the front here I have a piece that's 5 1/4 by 4. 5 1/4 by 4. And I have 2 more pieces the same size for the inside. And I've used a little bit darker yellow golden kind of colors for that. Those 3 pieces. And I have another little piece here. I don't know, it's about 3 by 1.5 inches. I got a ruler here. That will be our little tag on the front, and I've cut that from a piece that's a little bit lighter yellow. And then for our little pop-up, I have a piece of the lighter yellow, and that's 3.5 by 4.5. And then another piece of the dark yellow, and that's 4 3/4 by 3 3/4. And then I've pre-cut from basic black cardstock a happy birthday, and that comes from the Happy Birthday Thinlits die from Stampin' Up. And item number 143700, in case you want to order it. And then on some heavyweight Whisper White, I've got my flowers and my bees, and I've got them stamped. I stamped those with the Sahara Sand from Stampin' Up. And I've colored these in using, I just got a pencil set I wanted to try out. It's Blick Studios, and I've heard seen some really good reviews on them. And yeah, they're pretty nice. well, I'm not going to get into that right now, but that's what I used on these. Now, I'm not showing you how I colored them. If anybody is interested in seeing how I color things in, whether with markers or the Stampin' blends or pencils, then leave a comment below and I'll add that to my list of videos that I'm going to do. But I used the Sahara sand, and here's a little tip. When you have a big die like this, or a big stamp like this, and it's got a die that goes with it, this can get kind of off from your die when you're putting it on your paper. So what you want to do is take your die and just lay it on top of your stamp. Now the cutting side is up, and I can see that I have it positioned on my block just the way it should be. Don't just stick it on your block. You could be off a little bit and you'll go to die cut it and be very disappointed with the results. But these are from the Blossoming Cornflower set from Heartfelt Creations, and I have both the stamp and the dies for that. Where'd my other flowers go? There's the daisies. I've used the smallest, the 4 smallest daisies, and the two of the small leaves from the Heartfelt Creations Delightful Daisies. And let's see, what else have I got from them? And there's I have the die also. Oh, and then the bees are from their Sweet as Honey stamps and dies. I use the bees, and I'll also be using, let me get that out while I have this in my hand. I'll also be using the honeycomb stamp, and there's let's see, what did I use on the front? You Are Beautiful. So I'm going to use those 2 stamps on there. Let me see, what other stamps have I got here? You Are Sweet as Honey, You Are Beautiful, Believe. Okay, yeah, we'll stick with that one. Sometimes I switch them up on my demo cards. I have my my flower shaping mat. I have a kind of smallish ball stylus set here. Incidentally, Stampin' Up! Is coming, well, by the time this airs, it'll be available for sale, I'm sure. It's September 4th, it'll be available. And they have a tool that has, it's got everything. One end has like a little sticky tip on it for picking up embellishments and things. The other end has the pokey tool, and oh, something else. I don't remember what it is. But then it also comes with another end for that with 2 smallish ball styluses on it. I've got all kinds of things here already. I've got actually 2 pokey tools. I've got ball styluses, but I think I'm going to have to get that. So you'll be seeing it in the videos. Just cut my little my sentiment on the front out. I used this die, and that came from Heartfelt Creations. And what did they call this? Let's see. Luggage and Tags. That's what it's called. So let me get that out, because I'll need that. And I have my Floral Basics shaping mold, which is what I'll be using to do a basic shaping on my daisies. So let's get started on the card. So these have to be die cut. Let's put those aside. And let's see here. There's my little bit here I'm going to use for my tag. I'm going to stamp that in the Memento Tuxedo Black ink. And I'll need a little block here. And I'll need my stamp. I'm going to try to line that up on my block, because I find I tend to judge where I'm putting things by my block. The edges of my block, and I'll try to get that in the middle as well as possible here. 1, 2, 3, and there we go. Oops, sorry, I bumped the camera. So there's my little stamp. I'll put that with my die and put that with the other things that need to be die cut. And let's bring in my card base here. And I have, let's see, these are all going to go on the card itself. These two I'm going to glue together. Let's do that. This is going to be our pop-up thing. And I want to make sure that my glue is good and dry, because this has to be folded. Yeah. So let's see. I think I'll use the Dries Clear. The Designer Dries Clear glue, because that will set up nice and firm. I want to make sure that I get this really good on the back here. Sometimes I use well, a lot of times I'll use the Tombow glue, the multi-purpose glue, for putting these mats down, because it gives you just a little bit more time to put it in place. This is not as forgiving, I guess you would call that. And then I'm going to put those together, and that looks pretty. I did a pretty good job, I guess. That looks pretty good. And then I'm going to use my take my Happy Birthday die cut. I'm going to put that face down. I'm going to grab one of my little rough sponges, make myself a puddle of glue over here, and I'm just going to sponge that all on the back. I want to make sure, like, the center of it. Oh, you know what? I shouldn't be doing this yet. Da 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 da. There's my first mistake of the video. Let's see. I need a block here. I'm going to put my honeycomb on there. And with my Sahara sand, I'm going to decorate this bit here. I probably should have done that before I glued it down, but that's okay. Now I'm inking this up, and I'm trying, there's a cluster of flowers over here I really don't want on my card, so I'm trying to avoid that as much as possible. And I'm going to stamp that right there, and that's going to be our upper right hand corner. Okay, so we've got a little honeycomb there. Okay, now we can go back to our Happy Birthday. So I need more glue out. Is that in the video? Yeah, okay. I'm good. Okay, so we'll make sure that especially in the center, it's good and glued. And try not to get it on the front of the pieces. And I'll just lay that on there. I want that at a little bit of an angle and in the center. Here we go. There, a little glue got on the front. I don't want it on the front because when it dries, it's going to dry shiny. Okay, so there's our happy birthday. And that we want to dry very well before we put it on the, fold it and put it on the card. So let's glue these pieces down next. Let's see. Those two I'll put on the inside, I'll put this one on the outside, and I will use my Tombow glue this time. I lucked out on the inside part. Ooh, come on, Tombow. I'm at the end of my bottle of Tombow here, so sometimes it spits and sputters a little bit. And we'll center that on the front of the card. So we have just like 1/8 of an inch showing all the way around here. And then on the inside, we'll put one on each side here. And I'm making sure that where it's shaded darker, come on, glue. I have another bottle of glue, don't worry. If you were worried. I want it so that the darker shading matches up. Oh, I got a little dent here on the bottom of the card. There we go. Just straighten that out with my fingernail. And I'll do the side. Oh, look at that. I had enough to do this. And center that on the left-hand side of the card. And you see what I was saying? So the darker part here continues over into this bit here. Okay? So now we're at a point where I'm going to have to, for one, I'm going to have to go visit Mr. Big Shot over on the other side of my room and get all my die cutting done. I'll cut this bit into strips too, and then we can finish putting the card together. So I'll be back. Okay, I have all my die cutting done. I cleaned up all the glue on my table. I washed my little sponge that I used, and now there's a little bit of prep work we need to do on the daisies. And let me see how close I can get that and still have it so that you can see in between those petals there's a little slot that's partially cut. So we want to cut all of those little bits in between the petals. So I'm not going to make you watch me do all of them. I'm just doing this one. So don't worry. Don't worry. Be happy. So get all those cut in between there. And did I get all the way around? Nope, not yet. And okay, there we go. And then on the leaves, there's a little section here that's also partially cut. That's from the die. So I go in there and I'm going to cut that little piece out. Alright. And just poke it towards the back on the back side here and cut it off there. And there's just a little bit more there I want to get rid of. Now if you're not so fussy as I am, you could just leave that in there. Okay, and if you look on the back, there's a couple of little slots. Can you see out? You can see them on the video. I like to cut those also. They're easier to see on the back. Okay. So I'm going to do that on my other leaf here too, and then I'll be using the shaping mold. I'll go back to Mr. Big Shot again. I'm going to use the Floral Basics shaping mold and shape both the leaves and the daisies. The leaves, I sit in these big ones. I just put them in there. That just gives it a nice crinkled texture, kind of random over it. And put the daisies in these little wells here, whichever ones they fit into best. And then we'll give it a light spritz of water. You put the top on, and for the Big Shot, you sandwich it between your two plates, your cutting plate and your top plate, and it goes through just like that. Okay? This mold takes the place of your cutting platform. For a Cuddle Bug, you use the two B plates and run it through. And that same deal. Two B plates. This takes the place of the cutting platform. Do not try to run it through with the cutting platform. It will not work. And it will be obvious that it will not work. Alright, so let me get that done. And I'll come back again and we'll shape our flowers. Okay, so I ran these through with the shaping mold. And here, I'll show you. It's much more obvious on the back. Look, see that texture that's on there? And the same with the flowers. Nice, huh? And then all I need to do with the flowers is I'm just going to use this ball stylus and run that all just around the center there to pop those leaves up. Just like that. And or pop the petals up, not the leaves. And then on the leaves, I'm just going to bend these leaves all different ways. And I don't want it, I'm not squeezing them very tight because I want to keep that shaping that I've already put in. All that nice little crinkle texture. And there's one of our leaves ready. And I do the same with this one. Just bend them this way and that way. Maybe twist them a little bit so that they look natural, more natural that way. Okay. So now let's do our big cone flowers. This one I need to trim a bit off. You might have been wondering why some of them were pink. That'll be used on another card. So I'm just going to trim along here. With my little fussy cutting scissors. And let me get that little bit off there. That'll be all ready to go on another card. And let's see, this one I trimmed off these bottom two leaves. So it's like this. Let's turn those over. I'm going to give them a light spritz. I found these cute little atomizers on Amazon. And they spray an amazingly fine mist. I really like them. Okay, so we're just going to go along on the back here. Around the edge. We'll do that on all the flower petals, just to shape them, make them rounded. And I'll do a little bit on the leaves, but mostly on the flowers. We want a nice little shape on our flowers, because there's not a lot you can do with this particular flower set as far as shaping them goes. You could cut out bits and layer them up, and that's fun. But we're just gonna do this. This is fun to watch, isn't it? Let's see, I should have something to talk about. Well, let's see, it's probably September by now. So Stampin' Up's holiday catalog is out. I'll have that, I'll have the PDF for you to take a look at that on my blog. There's some nice items in there. Really pretty Christmas stamps. There's some for Halloween. Stampin' die sets, some papers. They're nice pattern papers. Okay, here we go. But yeah, that'll be on my blog. So now we've got these shaped. And we're almost ready to start putting things on the card. I wanted to do one more thing on this part. We've had that here drying, and we do need to fold it. But first, I'm going to take my Stampin' Blends. This is my let's see, I think it's the Light Daffodil. Yes, it's the Light Daffodil Delight Stampin' Blends pen. And with the painty tip, okay, it's got two different tips. It's got more of a bullet one here for very fine detail, or for finer detail. You want to make sure those caps are snapped on tight. That keeps them from drying out. But we're going to use the painty one. And I'm just going to add a little bit of a, in some of these honeycomb hexagons, I'm going to add a little bit of color, a little extra color on those. Again, this is kind of a, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. I wouldn't use a marker. I think the markers would be too dark. But I'm just putting a little bit more color on here and there, and that just brings out the fact that we've put a honeycomb on there. Makes it stand out a little bit more. Now we need to score this, and we're going to, because we have all this going on the front, we're going to score it on the back side. So I need to move some of my flowers out of the way, because I need to bring in my my Stampin' trimmer. So this piece here was 4 3/4 inches wide, so we're going to score it at 4 3/8, or not 4 3/8, 2 3/8. Okay, so line that up there, get that up against the top fence real nice, and make sure you use the light colored one. And we use that light colored scoring tool. If you use the other one, you're going to be very sad, because it will cut your paper. So make sure you get the light colored one. And I'm going to fold that. This is very thick, so this is not real easy to do and get a good score on there. And let me grab my bone folder. Use my bone folder on that. And I'm going to open it up. I'm going to turn it the other way, and just with my fingers because I don't want to mess with my happy birthday on there. Okay, so now we're ready. We're ready. Let's see. Let's do our mechanism for our pop-up. Oh, I have these cut into my strips too. You see how those are cut? Okay, so it's cut across, you know, opposite from the way you scored it. And we're going to start out. And I'm going to use my Designer's Dries clear glue. And this is what I'm doing. On this one little tab end here, I'm putting some of my glue down. I'm going to take that, I'm going to place that, I'm going to try to get as much in the center of the card as I can. And just inside of the score line, I'm going to put that down just like this. You see? Okay. So then we need to put glue on this end. And this is going to lay down when the card is closed. We want it to close like this and open up. So fold it down. Okay, we're folding this down just like this. And we're going to put some glue right there. Then we're going to take our card and close it. Okay, that should be good enough for now. So see, if you look down inside here, you see there's a little bit of space there where the fold of the card is. And that comes like that. So far, so good. Now we're going to take our next strip. I'm going to put the glue just on that little 1/2-inch tab there. We're going to take it and line it up just like so with this, the point of the triangle. Okay, so you see how it is? And that goes like that. Okay. We're going to close this up like we did that first piece. Fold it down on that center fold there. Because our card's going to close like this. And we're going to put glue on that 1/2-inch tab. And once again, we're going to close our card up. Okay, that should be good enough for now. And look. Nice, huh? And we're going to do the same thing on this side. We'll put some glue on that 1/2-inch tab there. We're going to line that up right there. So it's even with the top. So you have a nice flat little table on it. It'll be like a little table on the top. Let that glue set up a little bit. Okay, and now at the center fold, we're going to fold it down and put some glue on the top of that little 1/2-inch tab. And we're going to close the card up. I love cards like this. They just amaze me. Okay. So, ta-da! And there's our little table. We're going to take this piece and we're going to glue that onto the top of our little table here that we've made. So we'll put some glue on there. We're going to take that fold. We're going to put it right in the middle here. Right between these two. You can see where they're divided. We're going to put it right in there. And open that up like so. I'm going to reach underneath here. I'm going to just to press it in place a little bit better. And now we'll fold the card up to make sure that everything's working properly. I'm going to just hold it for a minute. And there we go. There's our pop-up. Is that not cool? Okay, so I'm going to stop the video for just a little bit because I want to make sure that all these pieces are totally dry. We don't want anything, now we have it all in place and it's nice and it's just the way we want it. We don't want anything to go wrong with it. So I'm going to let it just sit for just a few minutes and then I'll be back and we'll finish embellishing our card. Well, now we can finish embellishing our card. Now that we have that, ta-da, floating platform done. I just love to do that. Okay, so on the front of my card I want one of these daisies. I want my two flowers, or my two leaves here. I'm going to put those kind of like this. This is how I lay things out before I start putting them down. I want one of my larger daisies here, I think. Another larger daisy. Put a little one down here. And put a little one up there. And that looks pretty good as far as those go. So let's get those glued down first. So I'll start with my leaves. And just put a little bit of my Dries Clear glue on the back here. And I think it was right about here. Let's get that almost right to, let's get it to the edge of the card. And then this one down the bottom here, about like so. This glue has a good quick hold kind of stick to it. And I'm going to use some of my Stampin' Dimensionals. I've got a brand new sheet here. Don't ever throw those edge pieces away. Never, never, never. I'm going to put a couple dimensionals on here. Those are perfectly good glue things. Glue dot things. Matter of fact, we'll probably be using those on the bees. Okay, so I'm just putting that on the back of the flower, each of the flowers. No, that one's too big. Let me, ooh, I gotta peel that off. That's too big. I'm gonna stick one of the little dimensionals on this one that's not open. There we go. Peel them off. I got some glue dots from, or not glue dots, but these foam dimensionals from Heartfelt Creations. Let me see, where are they? Oh, here you go. They're nice thick ones, but boy, are they a bugger to peel the backing off. And let's see, let me put that right about there, I think. And you know, I'm not sticking that stem down. These little flowers here will hold that down in place. I'm going to go use my glue on the backs. Put a good amount of glue on there. I'll put that one right here. You see? That's going right on that stem. That's going to hold that in there. pop those petals up a little bit. There we go. And we'll put this one right here. And again, that's going to hold that stem down. We don't need to glue it. And one more. That's one of the smaller ones. We'll put that one there. So we have a nice little cluster of 3 here. And then we'll put this one up here. I'm just going to tuck that in right there. And we need some bees. Let's see. I like that one. Oh, and maybe this one here with a little bag of pollen. And I'll use that one here. So it's kind of looking in at the rest of them. And I'm going to use just the ends here, the edges for my bees. And just snip those apart. Oop, almost lost that one. Luckily it didn't hit the floor. If it hits the floor in my craft room, we're all in trouble. There we go. Let's stick this little guy down here. Get this one. See what I'm saying about these edge pieces? I could have used the little mini glue dots. But why? Let's see, put this one up here. And our last one. Get that little glue dot, or that little foam dimensional bit there. And we'll put him, or her, and it would be a him, when all the worker bees are hymns, I believe. Right there, like that. And then we have our tag. And I want to do just a little something on the edge here. And I don't feel like getting my sponge dauber. So I'm just going to take it and right to the ink pad. Yeah, you can do that, you know. There's no laws against that. Okay, so I just have a little, you see, a little border on my tag. And I'll put some glue on the back here. I'm going to tuck that in underneath my daisy here. Oh, let me pull that up. There's a little dimensional under there. There we go. Oh, got a little paper on me. Okay, so there's the front of our card. It's almost finished. We'll have to put glitter on it, but that I saved till the end. And now we can finish decorating the inside of our card. And we have these 2 flowers. We'll put one like this and one like this on this side. And we're going to kind of flatten them out a little bit. I know, we went and put all that nice dimension on. Now we're going to flatten them out. Just a little bit. They'll still have a little dimension, don't worry. And I want that one to go right here like this. And I'm going to push them down. There. That's all stuck down. See, it does have, still has a little bit of a dimension to it. And glue this one up. Do the same thing with this on this side. And I want that right about there. I just don't want to go off the edge of the card. Alright, so there we've got our flowers on, and we have a couple little bees here. Let's see. I think I'll put this one kind of here on the honeycomb. If you wanted to, you could have dimensionalized your bees too, but I didn't feel the need for it. And I'm not going to use a dimensional on these. I'm just going to take some glue, and my dry clear glue, and just stick them down. And this one I'm going to have hanging right off the edge here. I'm just going to put that towards the top of the bee. I'll have that one right there. So there we go. Ta-da! Okay, let's glitter. I'm going to bring in my little glitter tray here. I got this pretty cheap, and I pretty much like it. I don't have to hunt around for scrap pieces of paper to do my glitter on. And it's got a nice little funnel, and it funnels it back into the glitter. And I'm going to use this Pack-On Spectra glitter that I like so much now that I've found it. And let's see, I'm going to put some glue on the wings. I'm going to put some glue here on the flower, and on the petals. I'm going to do that all on all the flowers. Make them pretty. I'm not going to do the leaves, I don't think. I'll just do the flowers and the bee wings. So let's get that. You guys work kind of fast. We don't want our glue to dry before we get the glitter on them. And there's a bee. Let's get some on the wings. Get this flower. Don't want to forget that one. And last little bee here. Oh, and it just sprinkle glitter on there. Get that on all our little glue spots. There we go. So I spent quite a lot of time on this card because I spent a lot of time on showing you how to do the platform. But again, if people are interested in seeing how I colored the flowers in, I used the Stampin' blends on this one, and I used the colored pencils on this one. So it's a little bit different look to them. If you'd like to see how I did it, I'll add it to my list of videos to make, and we'll do a whole thing on coloring things. But everybody has their own medium. They like to use watercolors, regular markers, the alcohol markers, which are the Stampin' blends, or pencils. So I would say just use whatever you like the best. So if there are any Stampin' Up! Products that you'd like to purchase, that would be wonderful if you used me as your demonstrator. And you can shop with me either through my Facebook page or my blog. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them down below, and I will get back to you. I'm pretty quick about it, I think. And that's about it. So, y'all, take care, stay safe, and happy stampin'.